welcome to Conversations with me, your host Sarahina Mayoyo, a space we've created to talk all things women, by women, for women. Have you ever seen this in your life or actually experienced it? When you are close to a breakthrough or making it, you drop the ball. You don't know what happens. Just before you sign the deal, you do something to actually break the whole deal. That's called self-sabotage, and we do this especially as women.
An injured soccer player who hides his wounds to continue playing is self-sabotaging, not only to himself, but the whole team.
So that quote is pregnant because it's talking about a soccer player who is injured and who hides his injury because he wants to play. But the problem is he puts in detriment his whole entire team, because if the opponent can see that he's injured, he's going to go straight for him, and that might cost the game to that team. My co-host and I are going to delve deeper in this self-sabotage topic, so stay there. Welcome back, Matsuho. Please, can you introduce yourself to those who don't know you?
Thank you very much, friend. My name is Matsuho Njumbukla. I am a child of God. I am a woman. I'm a mother of 3 beautiful children. And I'm a very good friend of Sarahina, which is the reason why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to dissecting this topic today.
Yeah, and do you know what we're talking about today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Self-sabotage.
Goodness.
Goodness.
Do you have
Goodness.
like some experience with it?
I do. And my biggest self-sabotaging moments have come from
Mm-hmm.
feeling inadequate.
Not enough.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
not enough.
Yeah.
And especially in the corporate world. In fact, in the corporate world, with the in-laws, you know, in some circles.
Yeah, with the in-laws. That's
Yeah. And it's that, what's that? It's there's a complex there's a name. Down syndrome. I'll think
Okay.
about it. I'll think about it. But there's I have that complex.
Okay.
And it's continuous, Shem. Unfortunately for me, I haven't dealt with it.
And you know, the reason why I actually brought this topic up is it was inspired by a DM, a direct
Okay.
message I got on Instagram from a woman that I know for many years. She's much older than me. And it's somebody that, you know, I look up to in terms of certain things, you know, somebody who's had it together in life and all of that. And I was actually shocked and baffled when she sent me that message to say, you know, it was triggered by a devotion I had sent. And she says, I need help. How do I stop self-sabotage? Because I've actually realized that I do this every time, whether it's with relationships, whether it's with career, whether it's with friendships. When something is about to take off or elevate, I drop it.
So.
Or I do something to not make it work.
Or say something.
Yeah, like I make sure that I mess it up.
Yeah.
How can I get help with that?
My goodness.
Imagine this is somebody that I
That you look up to.
who has, you know, and when she said that, I was like, wow, self-sabotage is a huge topic. It's something big, you know, that we go through, and it speaks to feelings of inadequacy.
Yes.
Because I think what happens is that you see this big thing and it's huge, right? And then it's like you compare. You put you, and then you put the thing, and you're like,
noise. There is noise.
they're kicking each other, you know? And then because of that, you're like, if I go there, I'm going to mess it up. So let me rather save myself
even.
the disappointment.
Mandingayikwa
Let me save myself the disappointment. So let me rather not do it. And you'll find that we do this in so many things, you know. Yes, in relationships and also in careers. Like you will actually plan for the worst, you know. It's as if you know that you are going to mess this up. You see a good relationship about to ensue with a good person, and you're like, I know I'm going to do something to mess this up.
I literally know that your relationship actually went through that phase.
A lot.
I remember.
At the beginning.
At the beginning, where you're like, this guy's too perfect.
Because also I was like, he's too perfect for me.
For me, exactly.
But now, thank you for actually bringing that up, because now it actually connects me to a point in my life where, you know, I had prayed for a brother, you know, at home, because when I started living with my parents, I was the only child.
For a long time.
And I prayed for a while, and I prayed for a brother, and my brother came when I was 15. After my brother came, when I would look at my family's picture, it would look perfect. My dad, my mom, my brother. Me, I'd be the odd one out.
Are you serious?
And actually, I went through a period where I felt I don't belong in this. If I put myself in this picture of this family, I'm actually going to mess it up. And that's why I ran.
I don't even know that.
That's why I left home and I ran away. It's because I was like, now the picture is perfect.
It's perfect.
And then I was like, I had something in me that said, I'm going to leave them with the perfect child for the picture. And I ran away. And I didn't know that it would follow me into the future as well. Because, I mean, who was telling me that I don't deserve that beautiful family?
Where did that come from?
Where did that come from? And that's what we're talking about today, to say that let's really ask this question, where does this inadequacy come from? Where did we learn it from? Right? And I think, also, maybe we can talk about this, because I don't want to blame everything on, maybe abuse or, we know the role that abuse plays, but I also want to look at upbringing. I think as girls, we were brought up to believe that we have so many limitations.
Yes.
We can't. A girl can't. We heard a lot of, a girl doesn't, or a girl can't. Yes. A girl doesn't laugh like that. Yes. What does it mean to hleka kahle? Like, laugh is laugh. But sit properly. A girl doesn't. A girl doesn't run like that. A girl doesn't dress like that.
There were a lot of no's. If you have an older brother, he can go out until 11 at night, but a girl, you have to be home by 6.
And as much as, I want us to balance it, to say that perhaps they were trying to protect us more than the boys, and it was a safety thing.
It was a safety issue.
But in it, they didn't empower us to also believe in ourselves and in our power too. What it did is it actually diminished it, and it made us believe that we are so inadequate in so much.
So many ways.
Such that when we are older now, here is an opportunity that is huge, and you're like, boys can do that, not me.
Boys can do it better. As a result, it's not necessary to give boys inspirational talks about empowerment.
It's different. It's different topics.
Because for them, it's different topics.
Yeah,
it's different outlines.
Yeah,
for them, it comes naturally to chase after what they want.
Yeah,
because that's how they were brought up.
That's how they were brought
to
up.
Know that they are born able to drive. They don't need to be taught to drive. Like, for instance, for me, it was so unusual to see you driving at such a young age. Like, I never understood.
Yeah, but with me, boss, I was boy
I
as
never
well.
understood, because for me, like, that's such a taboo. We're supposed to drive later on in life.
Exactly. And these are realities.
Exactly.
That we grow up with.
And those are the things that are instilled in your brain, and you grow up believing them, unfortunately.
Because
listen, I told you my story of how I sabotaged a job.
Yeah.
Because from the moment I walked in, first of all, the role I felt was too big for me. Secondly, the atmosphere, it was only like, it was international people.
Yeah.
And I remember my boss, my line manager, was such a mean person. And for a long time, I used to think, I cannot do this. I literally was at that job for 2 or 3 months. Right? And then one day I woke up, I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm too stressed. It's too stressful, this environment.
Wow.
I remember my mom saying, dude, you actually can do this. Can you, my mom is cut from a different cloth altogether.
Yeah.
Because she was always like, can you just sit down? You can
But
do
it was
this.
internal.
It was internal.
Also, there were words inside. There
Can
were
I
words
tell
that
you?
were telling you that you can't.
There was that
don't even
voice.
try this.
As
And
a result, I ended up, like, there were many faults in my work, because
obviously,
I expected to fail.
And right there, I expected to fail. I want us to come back. When we go to the quick break, I want us to come back to I expected to fail. We'll be right back. Welcome back. And before the break, we were, exploring the topic of self-sabotage. And what we were saying is that perhaps we need to look at where this comes from in our lives. And especially as women, we looked at our childhood. Ukuthi perhaps the way we were brought up, the many no's we heard, the many women don't or women can't do this. Perhaps they play now into our adulthood where, we are faced with opportunities now and big things that we can do, but we actually are so afraid because we were told we can't, no, right? So now we are actually going from that to say that you were talking about the fact that you self-sabotaged yourself out of a job because you expected yourself
I
to fail.
expected to fail. Can I tell you? And the funny thing is, like I was mentioning earlier on, my mom was such a believer.
Yeah.
Not only my mom, the CEO of the company was mentoring me directly.
Sure.
Ne?
Wow.
But I managed to find one excuse to get myself out of that situation.
Uh-huh.
Ne? Like I'm saying now, because she was so hard and she was from a background that was
Your CEO?
No, now my
Your mom.
line manager.
Oh, okay.
My line manager.
Okay.
The one who I was saying was so mean. She's the reason why I ended up
Okay.
leaving. So I ended up finding that as a reason to exit.
Right.
Because she kept on saying, yeah, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong, this is right. So I got to a point where I was like, I cannot do this anymore. When I was leaving, I wrote an email to the line manager and I CC'd the CEO. I didn't go and talk to him as my mentor to say, listen, this is my problem. I was like, I don't even want to hear it.
I just
I'm
want to go.
leaving. Can I tell you, 3 weeks later, my line manager, the one who was supposedly terrorizing me, resigned. She was leaving.
But now you had already
I'd left
resigned.
already.
And I think
I'd left without talking properly to the people that I was supposed to talk to. So I couldn't come back and say, listen, can we?
Don't you find that excuses become so sensible
They
and
become
logical
sensible
when you are about to self-sabotage?
Listen.
Like the excuses you give yourself make sense, like
And no one could talk
it's
me out of
actually
it.
true. I can't do this.
No one could
They
talk me
make
out
so
of
much
it.
sense, and they push you to make that decision because you actually start seeing it. And I want to bring it to also this point. What we fear, we create. What we focus on expands. Have you ever heard that quote that says, what you focus on expands? So if you're focusing on weaknesses or the don'ts or the I can't, you actually can't. You
did
end
them.
up not being able to. You expand the negative because you're focusing on the negative. Just like when you focus on the positive, you actually expand it because you are able to, there's a drive from within, right?
And something that I said earlier on, my friend, sometimes in fact, not sometimes, mostly we speak it into existence.
Exactly.
Because I kept on saying, I cannot do this. Ended up not being able to. It got to a point where I couldn't wake up in the morning to go to work because
course.
physically I felt like I can't.
Your
like
body,
I got physically
your
sick.
body actually followed what you said.
And
isn't it true? Words
create.
life and death are
Words create.
in the power of the
they're
tongue.
The power of the tongue.
So you actually spoke it into being.
Into existence.
And your
I
body
spoke it
followed.
into
Ukuthi, I
to
can't.
show, for me to show that it became so obvious that was the devil's scheme. It became so obvious. That lady resigned.
Yeah.
If I just stayed
To
3
show
more
you.
weeks.
As if to actually,
To
poke
sh-
you in the face to say that,
Like,
you see,
we
I
have
stole
one
it from you.
man.
I took it away from you. Wow.
So
Self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage, my friend. It's a real thing.
Now, there's this quote that we started with, and we're talking about an injured soccer player.
Yes.
And, I love this analogy because it speaks to how also sometimes we sort of trick ourselves into a position where we self-sabotage in the end. So, picture a soccer team and there is a soccer player who is injured. And obviously, if the coach sees that, they're going to bench him, right? But a soccer player who doesn't want to be benched, I want to still come and play. And I'm going to hide my injury. What happens is that the opponent starts seeing that,
This one's
the midfielder has a bit of so there's a crack in this team. And then they go for the midfielder all the time. They go and tackle the midfielder all the time because they know they can actually penetrate through the team,
Listen, my friend, you know
through
what?
that injury.
So with what you're saying, it's twofold for me.
Yeah.
Self-sabotage comes from feelings of
Inadequacy?
and overconfidence.
Yes. That's exactly where we're going.
Overconfidence.
Because, and where does the overconfidence come from? It stems from an insecurity.
An insecurity on its own.
Because you are literally trying to be louder than the voice that says you
can't
are
do
not
it.
worthy or you are
Because
not enough.
Using this analogy of yours, if there is nothing wrong with actually getting an injury, especially in that scenario,
because you are playing.
It's part
It's
of
proof
the process.
that you are actually a
Actually
player
playing.
when you have an injury.
So now, why compromise the success of the team?
That's where I wanted us to go.
Ukise team.
Ukise team. Why would you compromise the win
Exactly.
for the entire team? Because now it's no longer about you. The entire team loses
Exactly.
because you didn't just want to take a breather.
Take a break.
Now let's take that into, let's talk about relationships or your relationship with your job. Sometimes it actually is good to pause.
And say,
I'm injured.
exactly. Or sometimes, my friend, even before you get to a job, someone applying for a job they can't do.
Ooh.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Ooh.
Like saying the experiences that I needed because you want to get the job. You put in those experiences and then you get the job. Maybe you ace the interview. Now when you have to actually do the job,
But
is that
then,
not self-sabotage?
comma, after you've just said that, someone who goes and applies for a bigger job than what they can do, only so that they can be rejected and then say, I knew it.
You know,
I knew it. You know those people of I knew
Exactly.
it. Like 2020 has just gone down the hill. No, I knew it. I mean, I saw it in Jan. You know those kind of people who are always planning for the
fail.
worst. Planning to fail. And we don't realize how self-sabotage works in all those different spheres, But back to that injured player. In relationships,
yeah,
the team is now the two people in
Yeah.
a relationship.
yeah,
Ukisi team ngoku, you actually put the other person in jeopardy. You actually put the other person in danger to be attacked because of your injury. Because the opponent looks at the team
exactly.
and says, I know how I can get the other. The other one is wounded. So I'm going to go for that wound every time. I'm going to poke the wound until I can penetrate into that relationship.
Yeah,
And then when I'm inside the relationship, both players are down.
are down. Kaloku.
Can you
Because
see how
it's a unit.
selfish it is,
It
though?
is.
When we talk about self-sabotage, we think it only affects us. It's only about me. But we don't realize that Kisi team, the entire team.
I think it goes back to the knowledge of your existence on this earth actually is not only about you. There's always a bigger picture.
We go back to purpose. And after the break, I want us to actually look at how self-sabotage also can be passed on. So stay tuned. Welcome back, and you're still watching Chatting with Sarahina, and I'm with my co-host Matseho, and we were actually talking about self-sabotage. And before the break, we were talking about, how self-sabotage actually starts showing itself in our lives, the overconfidence, the overcompensating also, and we made an example of a soccer player who is injured, who decides to go ahead and play, not realizing that it's not about you. It's not about you being more injured, but it's also about the whole entire team losing because you didn't want to face the fact that, you know what, guys, please bench me and take somebody else until I'm fine. And even in relationships, we do that. We don't want to take a breather. I've just come out of a relationship. Where's Mr. Rebound?
On to the next one.
I'm on to the next one.
Self-sabotage. Because Umdana comes into this relationship
Maybe they
on
are
a serious note,
yes,
looking for someone when you are on
and
a
when you are
rebound.
injured, but you want to prove certain points that I'm fine. I want to show the last guy that I'm good.
that I can do it without you.
But then that's also another aspect of self-sabotage because you are actually starting something that you know as well is not going to last.
So we know when we're self-sabotaging.
Oh,
You are, but that the
something
self-awareness
tells you.
is there.
Something tells you.
Self-awareness is there. So it's the voice at the back of the head.
It's we all know. It's either at the back of the head or under
It's here.
the heart. But
There is
you
that voice
know.
that says,
You know
Yeah.
you shouldn't be. But then you push ahead, and that's where overconfidence comes
Comes
in,
in,
you
yeah.
know. And then we wanted to now continue on this to look at how self-sabotage can also pass on, pass through to the next generation. And I want to bring in an aspect to this that may be, that is an interesting one.
Okay.
There's a woman I know who I can't say that she suffered from self-sabotage because I don't know the person's background. It's a woman much older, much, much older than me. But when she was bringing up her daughter, she used to speak words into this child's life. She had a beautiful daughter. The child was a gem. Ne? And I think her fears passed self-sabotage through to this child. She used to say, "Uyabona ke, this beauty of yours, it will get you pregnant if you think that's what life is about. You will have HIV, mtanam."
And
That's
lo
what
and
the
behold, she
child
got
grew
it.
up listening to. All right? Primary, high school. And what happened? The child after high school went to university and the child brought the first baby. And you know, because now the child has literally received self-sabotage. The child wanted to make, and she still is wanting to make something of themselves, but
Those
there's a wall she can't
those
break through.
words.
And she's the reason, because she actually acknowledges that she self-sabotages herself every
Because
time
that's what
things
she-
are going to go well for her. She just literally shuts down.
Yo, that's a scary one.
So it's that dangerous.
That's a
It doesn't
scary
end
one.
with us. It's one of those that we are able to pass on, and a child actually takes it.
And it's tricky. It's tricky because you'd find that that woman, that's all she heard as well growing up.
And she's got self-sabotage as well.
She doesn't
She's a
know
player
anything else.
that's playing with an injury.
Yo,
She's a
That's-
player
that's-
playing with an injury, and she's raising a child injured.
Mm.
And I think I want this one to sink in. Raising a child as an injured mother.
it's Jonah, it's sinking in right now. Like it's in. It hit me here.
Yeah, in the gut.
It hit me here
Mm.
because, goodness, yes, it's necessary for us
Mm.
to get to a point where we are healed.
Mm.
To get to a point where we understand our flaws so that we can deal with them, because it affects our kids one way or the other. One way or the other, our kids are going to be recipients of what comes out of us. Because
Here. Power of death.
I cannot speak something that's not here.
Mm.
And remember what in another episode what we were saying, that matters of the heart,
Yeah.
they create, like the words we say, they
Mm.
create worlds. You know, and our
And
kids are
it's-
recipients of this.
And the
It's,
words that come out of our mouths are the realities of our hearts.
of our hearts.
Yeah.
That's all. So
The
so-
pictures that are in our hearts are what we say. The experiences in our hearts are what we say. But we don't realize that we're actually creating the exact same thing, you know? And you know, let me go to this one. My daughter. In fact, when I found out I was pregnant with a daughter, I had an issue with God. Because let alone the fact that I didn't want children. Now he gives me a
A
girl.
girl,
Me coming from my background.
from your
I
experience.
had an issue with that. And then when she was growing up, you know
Remember, you
this,
used to be so protective of her.
no one could touch her.
You
not
were
even her
so
father
protective of
could
her.
touch her. And not even my own mother.
Mm.
And you know, but now when we talk about things that we speak, you know, and where they come from in our lives, as she was growing up, I realized that there was a point where I realized that I was actually creating what I feared in her life. Because, you know, when she was faced with an incident, she wasn't empowered enough to make decisions for
because
herself.
she was
Because I always cocooned her and I thought
she
I was protecting her.
sheltered.
But I was actually making her so scared that she couldn't function in the real world, you know? And that was my breaking point, to realize that I'm actually replicating myself. I am making sure that this child will get raped one day because something just happened to her and she didn't know how to react to it.
Exactly.
She didn't know how to fight back. She didn't know how to say no to this thing that almost happened to her. And I
Because
thought I was
You were
protecting
protecting
her.
her. And my friend, that the example, the story that you gave of that older woman
Yeah.
who was always speaking
To the
to the
child.
child. That woman was protecting a child.
That woman was protecting the
That woman was
child.
protecting a child, not knowing that it was to the child's detriment.
That's what we're talking about. So self-sabotage actually has roots, you know, that
Sure.
go like this, that go deep, and, you know, they are separate, because you may think it just speaks to, oh, I've just self-sabotaged myself out of a business deal, but it actually goes up to this length of your child, of the next generation.
Sam.
It actually is that detrimental.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for us as women to actually look into these situations. Stop joking. You know, it's fine. Facebook allows us to make jokes, and I've got
But-
nothing against the jokes, of the people in Facebook. But let's balance things. Don't live your life on jokes. Let's come back to the
Come back to
realities of life, and
reality.
actually look at these things, because let me tell you, we're not wasting time when we're sitting here talking about these things. God is nudging each and every woman to say that I can see you. I'm watching you, and I know you are going through these things. It is time now
It is time.
to handle your business. It is time now to go there and be like, okay, Hlubula, take it off, girl. And look at you and be on some. So this is me.
Sure.
And this is why I'm in this
In
mess
this
that I'm in
mess.
now.
I mean, everyone here who's brought on earth is great, is destined for greatness, friend.
Of course.
Why are we not great? Why are we not great? Because
And
we
as
have-
women,
as women,
we know that we are
have been given the tools.
Mhm.
We've been given the opportunities.
Yeah.
But each and every turn, when you get to that point, you will entertain that voice that says, "Not you, Kaluxis."
Mm.
Uzlibele. When do you forget where you come from? It cannot be you. You're not worthy of this.
There's actually a quote I wrote in my book that says, when what happened to you becomes you.
Mm.
And that's what we struggle with as women. When we start defining ourselves according to what has happened to us, then it makes it normal for us to have all these things that are limitations
Yeah.
in our lives, and we accept them, and we create little rooms for them and locks, and we lock and we keep the keys very safe. We are, and here's the thing I actually want to bring to our attention as women. We are the ones who know where the key is.
Exactly.
No one knows that key. You are the one who knows that key. And that is why God is nudging you, because God is saying, bring that key.
Yeah.
Let's open those doors, because we are the ones who've actually closed
Close them.
those doors. So I'd like you to tell us your last words, your last advice, even in terms of self-sabotage and these things that limit us.
Woman, you are great. You are amazing. You've been brought on this earth to shift the paradigm. It's time, actually. It's time now to get to a point where you realize your greatness. When you get to that point where you realize your greatness, nothing anyone says can actually deter you from your journey.
Sure.
So silence that voice by getting to know who you are.
Yeah.
It goes back to the mirror.
Okay.
Try and find out who God is.
That
So
center.
that, yes, the
Okay.
center. You said the other day that we're made in his image. In fact, the Bible says we're made in his image.
Of course.
If you're made in his image, who is he? So that you can get to know who you are.
Amen. Thank you so much, Matseho. Our time is up. But that was powerful. Thank you for that ending note as well.
Thank you.
So how long have you been trying to pray self-sabotage away, or even fasting it away? You see, with self-sabotage, you can't wish it away. You can't even ask for a pastor to pray it away for you. This one, you are going to have to go and deal with yourself, which means you're going to have to open yourself up, go to a mirror and look at it dead in the face and actually say, this is it, I'm done with you. But you can't do that until you discover yourself and actually expose it to yourself. So I'm here to encourage you now to start walking that journey, because I also had to walk it. I know it's not a good one. I know it's not a happy one. I know sometimes it's going to be painful, but trust me, it is so worth it in the end. Thank you so much for being part of the conversation today. We look forward to you joining us in our next episode. Goodbye.